that's not afraid of hard work, and he's making the news regularly actually on social, and that is the chef and entrepreneur and owner of his own restaurant down in Killarney Way, Paul Trevaux. He joins me by phone this morning from beautiful sunny Killarney, I'm sure. Paul, good morning.
Neil, how are you, sir?
I'm good, my friend. Are you connecting the dots between tourism being down 30% year on year to the amount of hotels that are closed and unavailable to the tourist sector?
Am I connecting the dots? I connected the dots about 2.5 years ago. I went from being cancelled from every mainstream media radio station and TV show to now all of a sudden having every single politician, including our Taoiseach Taoiseach and Minister for Justice, repeating everything I said, because I was apparently far right about 2.5 years ago when I said what was going to happen, and now they're saying actually he was so right.
Okay.
And now they're trying to turn around and pretend, that what myself and a few others were shouting and screaming a few years ago when we could see what was going to happen has happened, and now we are in an absolute disaster of a storm of what's going on with tourism. And
is it true? Is it true that when you say cancelled, my antennas usually go up when I hear that word? Did that actually happen? Did you feel as if all of a sudden you were persona non grata from media outlets that previously would invite you on?
I wasn't even, it wasn't even a feeling. I got phone calls from producers from major TV shows and radio stations saying, we actually can't put you on, Paul. And I was going, but I'm not shouting and screaming. I'm not using bad language. No, it's nothing to do with that. They actually can't argue with you because what you're saying is 100% right and they know it. But they just can't have you broadcasting this to the masses because people who aren't too sure what's going on might actually be persuaded as to what you're saying. And now it's exactly, it didn't take a genius. I'm not smart. I'm not a clever guy. But it didn't take a genius to say, if we remove 40% of the tourism accommodation throughout the country, that it's going to absolutely decimate that sector for two reasons. Obviously, A, we have now replaced 40% of the tourists coming into the country with people who 90% of, by the way, shouldn't be in the country in the first place, as per our Minister for Justice now, that they don't spend in the town and in the local economy. And then the 60% of accommodation providers that are left, it's the basic law of economics that come in of supply and demand, and they turn around and say, well, if the demand is still here, well, then we're just going to double our prices. So now, all of a sudden, a room that normally costs 150 is costing €300 to €400. So the entire budget of somebody who's coming into a town to spend is gone on their.
So when would a family room have been €100? In all fairness, never, not a long.
We're not. Don't put words in my mouth. I'm not saying a family room. If a couple were coming out to Killarney, they would have frequently gotten a room for €100 to €150 in many of the 3-4 star hotels around.
Okay, the Hotel Killarney now for July, right, is €270 per night.
Yeah, that's already about, and I can tell you now, so listen to me very carefully, that's already about €70 to €80 cheaper than last year, and I guarantee you'll get that same room for about 200 if you hold tough, because it's not filling.
Okay, so we looked at others then. Clonakilty Park, 300 per night. These are family rooms, 2 adults and 2 children for July. So Clonakilty Park, 300.
So that's 4 people. That's 4 people. So already a family room would have been costing more than that again last year. That would have been up around the $450 mark last year. But that's for 4 people. So that puts it a bit more into context. Still expensive, but it's not as bad as what it was. Because I learned a very valuable lesson in first year of COVID. When I was open and all the pubs were closed, I was going, this is deadly, because the pubs are closed, so nobody can drink anywhere bar with me. So all of a sudden, my business went through the roof for those couple of months that we were actually allowed trade. Thanks very much, Tony Ullman. But then, when we were closed the following summer, I realised what an idiot I was, because I should have been standing across the road with my pubs and my neighbours and getting them reopened. The same has now happened to hotels, because the high street is seriously suffering. People don't want to spend €500 and stay the whole time in their hotel room. They want to get out and they want to experience the town. They want to see the local scenery. They want to use the Jarvies, the knick-knack shops. They want to call into the pubs and have the pints. But if their entire budget is blown on that accommodation, what they are doing, and this is exactly what they're doing, they're having a late breakfast so that they can have an early dinner and skip lunch. They're going out driving around, seeing everything that's around, say the likes of Killarney or Kenmare and Cork and all these places. And then what they're doing is they're getting a simple takeaway back into the room. The hotels are telling me that they're emptying hundreds of pizza boxes and burger boxes out of the hotels because people don't have the money to pay for dinners out.
Well, because that just means that Killarney is an overpriced town to eat out in then, doesn't it?
Well, To the uneducated it is, but to the educated it's far from overpriced. So what the policies of the government since COVID have done is, A, they shut us down for 2 years and they stopped us from able to generate money to be able to pay all our debts and all our revenue obligations. We thought that once COVID was over, we were going to experience a huge boom with people travelling and all that, and we're going to have a massive couple of years ahead of us. Then they removed 40% of the accommodation in towns and villages all around the country. And because of what they did during COVID, everybody knows that the cost of inflation has gone through the absolute roof. So now, in order to do business, this is a very important fact, it is costing me €100,000 more to trade as a small restaurant and a small employer in Killarney than it was in 2019. When I was selling my prices at 30% less than what I am now, I was making money. If now charging 30% more, I can tell you now for a fact that if I break even this year, I will be doing very, very well. And that is absolutely replicated by every single bar and restaurant and small business. And here's the problem now. It's actually spreading out into so many more industries. It's not just the restaurant industry. Every small family-run business is now experiencing the exact same thing as to what I've been shouting and screaming about for the last couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about inflation there. I think it's running at about 1.9. I remember it was significantly higher than that. Would you acknowledge that it's down, though?
No, so again, to somebody who looks
5%, 6%, that kind of thing. It's not that now.
Yeah, I know, but if you let me answer, I'll explain to you exactly. Because you're talking 1 to 1.5% up on where it was last year, which was through the roof. So inflation may be down, or maybe down statistically compared to last year, but percentage-wise, it's still 11, 12% up. So trust me, there is nothing more I would love to do than to come onto your radio show and tell people how to cook a perfect Easter Sunday roast or something like that.
I know,
and instead I'm shouting and screaming about this.
But if you're saying, hold on, that the hotel rooms aren't filling and the prices will drop, that's a counter-argument to what you're making, isn't it?
No, because I want people to pay less for their rooms. I want people, call me selfish, but I actually want to keep my business open. I want to keep my 10 staff in a job. I drove around Killarney and Kenmare last night, and it was an absolute ghost town. There's no families going around. I know it's the first week after.
That's a Tuesday in the first week in April. What do you expect? It's not Vegas. You got to wait for the summer.
No. It's not Vegas, but I'm in business 23 years, and I have never seen anything like this before. And I can tell you for a fact, the reason why my social media channels have gone through the roof over the last 4 or 5 years is because everything I say is correct, 100% fact. And every single business, small family-run businesses. There was another bar in Donegal that closed down last night. This was the heart of the town that it was in. It was full all the time, but they are making no money. I myself drive to work every single day going, what in the name of God am I doing this for? I know already because, and the statistics are there, so now they can call me whatever name they want. The statistics have come out to say January and February are down 25 and 30% respectively, with a spend of 31% down.
Okay, I'm not arguing the numbers. You have them, you've number crunched them, but listen, we looked at some numbers as well. It's a damn expensive country to be. I mean, you might be looking for tourists from other parts of the world, right, to be coming in here. They're not listening right now. The message went out, of course, with all of the riots and the criminality in Dublin and around the country, and tourists might be slow to come here because they mightn't feel safe anymore. But say for the Irish people, right, you want to go, encourage them to go to Killarney. It's a fabulous town. I'm down there on Sunday and going out on the lakes. I'm going to have a really great day.
I say hello.
I was thinking I might come over to you for a spot of lunch, incidentally, but Centre Parks, right? 7 nights in July, €3,000. 4 nights in July, 1,700. No disrespect to them now, and I'm sure it's a fantastic place, but a week for $3,000 for a family, there are cheaper options overseas where you'd be getting an awful lot of more amenities, say, and you'd be getting an awful lot better weather.
Could not agree with you more. You are 100% correct. But the reason being why these prices have gone through the roof is that everybody's, and the first person going to turn around and say he doesn't want to pay his staff more in the minimum wage. I'll pay my staff 50 quid an hour. You're paying 100 quid for a breast of chicken. So it doesn't matter. We work off percentages. But you can't have put on so many increases into the cost of business and not expect the prices to shoot through the roof. So when we put a minimum wage up 12, 15%, which is what we've done, and we put it up 10% the year before, and we're going to put it up 10% again next January, with a mandatory pension contribution going in from employers again. So prices are just going to go up again. So
I accept that, and there is insurance, and of course there is utilities, and there's heat, and there's lighting, and there's gas, and all of these things, and there's things you don't expect, and then you get hammered with a bill, and you got to pay suppliers. I understand that. I just sometimes wonder, you know, is there a little bit of over-egging the pudding here with the price on the steak, or the price for the bowl of chicken wings, or the cost of an omelette, or a full Irish breakfast at 17 and 18 euro? Come on.
Look, but I tell you, Neil, nothing would have me happier than to have lower prices at a busier restaurant. But I have to trade at worst case scenario. I have to trade at a break even. And even if I'm really good at what I do, I have to trade within my credit terms so I can use that 30-day credit to hopefully get me through the winter. So I turn around for 6 months last year and 3 months of this winter where my brother and myself didn't pay ourselves. Yeah. We have no pensions. We have no pensions. And I'm talking to other business people all around the country where they've cashed in their pensions to try and keep their business afloat. So it is so crucial that people understand. I'm not the guy shouting and screaming because I know, look, you get a couple of texts that come in, but you get a load of texts and people sitting and agreeing with me. This is all because of what the government...
Yeah, here's one. Paul is a legend. It's all facts. He only deals in facts. We don't need politicians. They're treacherous. Actually, you know, your text said, firstly, who could blame a hotel for saying no to tourists and saying hello to the state who pay them vast quantities of money for year in, year out to take migrants? Who could blame them? Sure, like it's minimal work for maximum profit.
I'll do it. I would do it myself unless I had high morals. But here's just an example of the negotiating skills of this government. So there's a well-known hotel in Drogheda that was making 1 million profit at the end of the year trading as a hotel.
Yeah. Our
government turned it over, and I don't need to mention any names, everyone knows what I'm talking about. Our government turned around, and how much did they offer them? They didn't turn around and say, let's offer them 2. No, let's offer them 13. Let's offer them 13 million for a hotel that was trading with a profit of $1 million. And if you did a little bit of research, you see it was a Chinese consortium that bought it 6 months prior to being awarded this.
Oh, listen, there were all sorts of entrepreneurial opportunities available and still are to people. Nothing illegal about that. I mean, the Red Barn down here is running at 200,000 a week. Multiply that by
100%.
But who could blame them? Who could blame them?
I get to that now, but let's just remember what you were talking about before the 10 o'clock news about the Moriarty Tribunal. Yeah. Wait till you hear the tribunal that's going to come out as to who was awarded contracts for the government. But I would do it, because here's what else. Here was my alternative. I have to staff that entire hotel. I have to insure it. I have to pay for my light and heat. I have to worry, will I actually get the staff? I have to worry, am I going to fill my hotel? And Mr. Government picks up the phone to me and says, you have a 100-bedroom hotel that you can fit 200 tourists in. I go, correct. Well, we're the government, so you can actually put 400 migrants in if you wanted to. Yeah. And what's going to happen? Well, we're going to give you 100% occupancy. Imagine being in a rural town where you're only hitting 60, 70% occupancy throughout the year, and you're closed for 2-3 months, and the government offers you a 12-month contract at 100% occupancy.
Oh, listen,
I either sit and pay my bills and worry, is the hotel going to operate, or I'm in Marbella every Friday. Did the money come into the account? Yes, it did. Thank you very much, Mr. Government. I'll have another pina colada.
I know what you're saying. I know it. You can come from Killarney along through Killorglin, through Glenbeigh, through Carsavine, through Waterville, and all along the Ring of Kerry. You ain't going to get any hotel bedrooms. You're going to have to go really, really far out before you will, because they are gone. They're all taken over. But you're suggesting now, and this is a quote from your text to me before I let you go, do we need another 200,000 illegal immigrants to move in and take up the remaining tourist accommodation? Isn't that being quite alarmist when the opposite is actually happening, that numbers are dropping?
Well, is it actually happening? Because, as you said, the Taoiseach sent a letter to Michael Lowry asking him to resign. That sums up how illegal immigration happens in this country. The government are asking the illegal immigrants to leave because nobody has a brain to turn around and stop them at the point of entry and say, sorry, lads, you're not allowed in here. Go home. And let's not forget for one single second, I don't blame anybody who has come into this country. I couldn't care less the colour of your skin, who you pray to, what kind of person you're like, as long as you work, contribute to society, and become part of the town and the villages that you're brought into. But I'm not going to be sitting here so naive to turn around and say that 90% of who've come in here, which has now been admitted by this government, are coming here as social immigrants coming in to collect money, because the benefits we offer are insane. It's all over social media about the Syrian guy who's getting €500 a week. This is crazy. How long are you going to stay here, mate? I'm going to stay forever. Of course you are. Sure, I do the same. If France were to turn around and offer me €6,000 a week...
How does that work on a flat rate of social welfare at just over 200? How is he managing to queue him up to 500?
Well, because they're taking everything into account. They're taking in all the benefits that they get into account. I mean, we saw again that...
What would have been rent, you're saying? What would have been utility bills? What would have been food? All provided brings it up to 500.
Absolutely, 100%. But also you got to bear in mind, the likes of, say, and again, this is nothing against anyone from Ukraine. Look, if somebody offered us to go, we'd all go and do the exact same thing. But if you're turning around and your average salary per month is €600 to €800 per month, and that's what you're getting in Ukraine if you're lucky enough to get a job. And the Irish government give you €1,100 in social welfare payments. I know they've dropped it now. But if they give that to you, not including your rent, not including your food, not including medical card, free post, free, of course you're going to come and avail of that. They're the intelligent ones. They've just availed of the system.
Okay, so not terribly optimistic about the summer then?
No, Neil, I'm gonna tell you this now, because this is so important. The tourism industry, March figures are going to be pretty much the same. I said in February, if you think January is scary, wait till you see what's coming in February.
January's always scary, man. Nothing happens in January.
Yeah, I know, but still, could you imagine being 20% down and scary? 25% down. And I said in mid-February, if you think this is bad, wait till you see what's coming in February. February was 30% down. Now, I'm telling you now, because by the time our wonderful people in the CSO come out with actually official statistics, I'll tell you now it will be the exact same for March. But April is going to be an absolute disaster.
Okay.
And if you take that, even if we're only down 10%, which will be far more, you can come bring me back on when you say you actually told me this was going to happen. Even if we're only down 10% of a very good month of April, that is an absolute disaster for tourism.
Okay. Leave it at that. Food for thought. We'll talk again. Thanks for taking the call as always.
Thanks, Neil.
Paul Trevaux, restaurateur at Trevaux's in Killarney.